Peace is literally already here. And the challenge for a lot of people is like, when you realize you don't have to do anything to feel
That was crazy. Yes, that was it.
your mind trying to make sense of it. It's like, wait, I didn't just work my ass off. I didn't have to work 1,000 hours. I didn't have to do all this to achieve peace. Like, no, this can't be real. Then you're gonna, then you try to like make it make sense, or you try to create a recipe to repeat it again and make it more predictable. No, it's here.
That's such a crazy thing. It's so simple. That's why, and this kind of supports the idea that you can build your empire.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and you're like, how do I have peace while I also like grow myself and expand myself?
Yes.
You can do both at the same time.
Yes.
Hey there, I'm Cody McGuffie. I'm a husband, dad of 3, and I'm the founder of EverBee.
EverBee.
Where we serve over 1 million creators across the globe, helping them grow thriving online businesses. I believe every single human is a creator, and I believe every single creator should own a business. A business that gives them the freedom to build the life that they dream of. Built Online is where creators, entrepreneurs, and leaders get real insights, real stories, and the edge to build something that actually lasts. This is where the next generation of builders get built. Samson, I'm so happy you're here, man.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
We've had, we've been friends for how many, a year now? It's been a year and a half.
A little over a year.
It flies by really fast. And before we hit record, we were already catching up a little bit, but I was recapping for the preparation of just us getting to spend some time together.
Yep.
I'll do the same thing, actually. Turn it off. Do not disturb for your call after you missed.
Right.
One second here. I already know that'll blow up. Yeah, I was spending some time thinking about, man, what are we going to talk about today? Because we can go so many different angles.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting on how we met originally.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you recall fully.
I remember.
You do. Well, tell me how you remember it, at least.
So, fortunately, I have a great partnership with Hamptons and supporting them when they do retreats in Austin. So, for me, I think the beauty of it is I get to share what I love doing, but the direct byproduct of that is connecting with amazing people like you. And I remember during the integration process after a breathwork session, I remember seeing you like, you weren't like, it wasn't like you were shook or anything. It was almost like, oh, I remember feeling like this. I remember the benefit of what it's like to be present and connect with the asset like my breath. And then I remember you just kind of like being in your own space, but you were also like, there was this hunger I saw in your eye to like go deeper. And then we connected.
Thank you for saying that. And I remember it very similarly, actually. I remember that session. By the way, what Samson's talking about here is Hampton's like a founder and CEO entrepreneurship community. And Samson was leading it, and it was a beautiful, beautiful event that you had. Like, it was a beautiful like session. It was like in a courtyard. Yeah. We were like laying down, comfortable, doing these breathwork sessions. And my experience was before that was I did some breathwork originally. Wim Hof was the YouTube sessions, which is awesome. Did some other in-person sessions, and I remember just having like a great, surreal kind of experience from it. After you come out of a breathwork session, I remember just being like, I feel like better than I've ever felt, which is wild. Because we think that we're feeling good a lot of times. And then you do a breathwork session and you're just like, dude, I didn't even know what feeling good was. Like I had so much baggage, so much weight on me. And after a session with you, for example, you just feel like that's just unloaded. And you feel clear. Is that typically how it is for everyone, or is that just my experience?
I mean, it's different for everyone. I mean, there is a common theme with that experience. I think everyone is different. Some people, it's like, they don't even, I don't want to say they don't feel anything, but they're not present to feel, let's say, open or light, simply because, again, everyone's coming in at different stages. So for a lot of people, to be open or to allow yourself to, feel or be present in that way is actually a threat to their system, because they're so used to being closed off and being tense and being in a state of defense, if you will. And then for the most part, a lot of people, they actually get the benefit of just being present. A session I just did for another leader more recently, it was so fun. And what he shared was, he's like, interesting. He's like, I've been here for a few days and I didn't hear, and he was speaking of the cicadas. He's like, now I hear them. They've been there the whole entire time. So, what I get from that is there's a level of awareness and presence, like something like that drops you into that you weren't aware of before. But yeah, there's a bunch of different experiences that people have. But for the most part, people do get this feeling of like lightness or or deeper presence. I think that's the most common one. It's like they feel more like here. Yeah. And it's because we're breathing. I think that's the effect of just being like breathing.
I try to remember because it's interesting in my experience, like with breath work, I'll do it and then I'll feel amazing. Like there's a long tail typically. Well, for me, I don't know if I really thought about this too much, but typically for sure the same day. Like I feel the benefits of it. And the next day I kind of like, my system goes back into, by its default settings and I probably have to do it again if I want to feel that feeling again. Is that pretty expected too?
Yes and no. And, my mentality, I've had the opportunity to kind of work with this tool for the last, over a decade. And, I always go in knowing that when something is a tool, that's what it is. It's a tool. My job is to not become the hammer, is to use the hammer.
Interesting.
And why? Well, breathing is a natural function of just who we are as human beings. Biologically, like it's again, because of the likes and of our central nervous system, we don't have to worry about it. Like it does it for us. So it's a direct, it's correlated to just our existence, to living, to being alive. So there's that. But what I've come to understand is that it's important that we understand the fundamentals of just breathing, rather than just seeing it as this novel thing or this session or activity that I have to do. Otherwise, we'd be relating to it as a thing that's outside of us. I won't be present until I do this session. I won't feel light until I do this session. So, what I try to get people to understand, including myself, because it took me getting to this place, was how can I breathe regularly in a way that acknowledges my ability to get present? And then when you open that, or when you are curious about that, you realize it's not just about the session. The session is just inviting you to what's possible. It's like a glimpse. It's like an idea that drops into your mind, right? But this time it's like a visual experience. Like, oh, if I allow myself to be present, the tool just giving you the access to what's available. But if I can practice making it a way of life, to soften, to regulate my nervous system, to essentially put my brain in a state to where it doesn't have to be tense or look at the world as a threat, then I realize I don't need as much sessions because that's how I'm living.
So the goal is to change your identity, not to just have a session every single day.
Exactly. Now the sessions are great. I kind of call them like, when people ask at the end of a session, like, oh, how often can I do this? Because they love that feeling. Yeah. I tell them like, hey, like once or twice a month is great. Like if you need to clean the gutters out for a little bit, if you realize that you are like really, really like tense and you're full of baggage, then a great session to help kind of like meet you where you are and almost get you out of your mind so your body can do what it needs to do. But outside of that, it's just one session. What's more important is how we're living. So it becomes more of a daily fundamental practice to retrain yourself, retrain your brain, retrain your nervous system on how to breathe in a way that actually evokes presence, evokes safety. And by safety, I don't mean like perfect safety. I mean capacity. Capacity to be with like what is. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think we all want to, I personally want to always be able to handle, I want to be the person able to handle the hard stuff, right?
Yep.
I think most people listening to this, and
Yep.
I'm sure you would probably agree with yourself too,
Absolutely.
is like we want to be the one, we want to be the man or
Yep.
the woman or the
Yep.
mom or
Yep.
whatever to carry the weight of the family. And we want to be strong for our loved ones. Do you feel like living in this way actually helps you do this? Because I think a lot of times
So good. Such a
we
good question.
we feel like, yeah, I guess, do you feel like breath work or living in this way would actually help you almost callous your mind? And I'm using that word.
Yeah.
And you can correct that. Like,
Yeah. No, I love the way you frame this question. So first and foremost, like, even though like I'm a practitioner with breath, I don't even like associating it or calling it breath work anymore because
Oh,
then
interesting.
it insinuates this toiling that I have to do with something that comes natural to me, right? It's like, why do I have to work something where, in however long we've been talking, we've already had like
Yeah.
maybe
of breaths.
hundreds of breaths,
Yeah.
right? So that's the first idea, and I think it has to do with our relationship to work. So people like us, we got to work, we got to figure it out.
Totally agree.
So now it's something with breath. Like, why do I have to work that?
Something
as
I
well?
have to do, something I always have to do and check off the list. And
Right.
make sure I'm doing the right things.
Right. So when it comes to like developing, I would say internal resilience and capacity, yes, it could help, but I think it's how we're going about doing it. And it's so interesting you brought that up around like being the strong one, being the one to handle things. I actually just had an experience because before this you asked how I've been, and I'm like, bro, it's been a ride. And the last week I had an experience that was deeply revealing, and I'll share.
Yeah, sure.
I had an opportunity to jump on this free workshop with a really, what I, based on the small amount of time I've gotten to know him, like incredible like coach, like mastered what he does. In fact, I see a lot of myself, or essentially like what I get to really step into in him. His name is Joe Hudson, if you're not familiar with him.
No.
And I went into his ecosystem because I was curious. I'm like, okay, I really love how he handles these sessions or how he handles these interactions or connections with people. So I was like, let me go into the ecosystem. And I jump on his workshop. When I checked the participants, when I looked at it, it was over 800 people, right? So he normally does like this intellectual Q&A first, kind of get the intellectual questions out the way, and then he does rapid fire coaching. I just so happened to get picked out of like 800 people, and there were 300 with their hands raised. I didn't raise my hand. So I'm like, okay, that's already, for me, it's an indication I'm meant to be here. So he's like, what's your question? And you've known me for a little bit, right? I couldn't get my question out. I froze. And then I realized that I'm trying to perfect like the question. He's like, and I said, okay, let me set some context. He's like, no context needed. What's your question? And then I like close my eyes. I try to go within. He's like, no, stay here. What's your question? And
What were you feeling right now? Were you feeling a sense of, you said perfectionism. Is it also leading to panic a little bit too? Is there heart racing? What are the physical sensations?
I don't remember, but looking back, I think that's what it was. I think I felt so exposed and helpless in that moment that I couldn't resort to my mechanisms,
What you're actually good at.
my adaptations, my ability to gather myself.
Which your identity is actually, this is a part of your identity. Like you look at yourself, probably, I imagine, like somebody that's able to keep their composure under pressure.
Oh, wow. Just wait, bro, because it got crazy. So he's like, look at you. He's like, you're trying to hold it together. And I said, and I've had to learn how to do this. I've had to learn how to challenge kind of like what I'm being told or what I hear, because I used to be someone that just was agreeable, right? Like that doesn't fully resonate, but I can see that. And then some time went by, and he said these words. He said, Samson, there are worlds upon worlds that are waiting to help you. And I cracked. I like lost it. I was in tears for maybe a good 2 or 3 minutes. Again, I don't know, no recollection of time, but I like lost it. And I think it's just also the compound effect of what I've went through over the last 2 months, but just honestly, the reality of what I was unconsciously still living in. So after he said that, he shared a story, because he works with a lot of high capacity, high output individuals, him being one himself. He shared a story how, for him, he resisted feeling helpless. Right?
He resisted feeling
his helplessness. And it's back to your question, being the strong one, being the one that had to hold it all together, right? It's like, I'll get to that in a little bit, but after the call is when I unpacked so much. Because for the next 2 days after that, I was so disoriented. I experienced like vulnerability hangover, because I was now in front of 800, maybe 900 people, which I don't have an issue with, but I realize even in that, there's a part of me that seeks to control and is selective with how I'm being vulnerable, simply because I vigilantly pay attention to cues and facial expressions to see who could handle like what I feel is a lot. And there hasn't been many people who could do that, because guess what? We're the ones that always do it. Right? So I've been used to scanning, like when I'm like allow myself to just be, and I could be in emotion and just without needing to justify it. I see someone's face and they try to fix that. I was like, oh, it's not safe to let it down here. So I became very selective in who I allow myself to fall apart with. But even in that, I realized there was still a form of control that was hindering essentially the support that I deeply desired and needed but couldn't ask for, because of my story around it meaning that I'm weak or feeble.
Or you're broken.
Right. And then I realized how much I committed to these identities. At a very young age, you know this about me, my parents separated when I was 4. And I told my father, just out of the necessity and desperation of not wanting him to leave, if you leave, I'm going to hate you. And he still left. And I made those words mean something about me. I was like, oh, I caused that. So as a result, I compensated and I adapted to not use my words or be direct or be truthful. At a very young age, a year and a half old, I internalized that I was too much, and I even heard it from my mom, like, your power, your energy is too much for us. And, they started calling me by my middle name instead of my first name, because they realized every time they call me my first name, I'd be hyper. And for a lot of people listening, they don't think, oh, you don't remember that. Like, we remember everything. It may not be conscious, but we remember everything. So starting at a very young age, I started to like almost reject who I was, but it was replaced with compensation and adaptive strategies of how I could be accepted, so I'm not kicked out the pack. And what that looked like was the one who held it all together. What that looked like was the wise one, because as young as 6 years old, oh, you're wise beyond your years. You probably heard that
many times.
You're wise beyond your years.
You're old soul. You're an old soul.
And for me, I'm like, oh. And I wasn't trying to be wise. I was just being myself. I was being curious. I was being reflective. I was being, I wasn't just being myself. Oh, you're wise beyond your years. So I saw.
Which was true, actually. It was very true, probably.
Yeah. I saw the connection. I saw the validation. I saw the being seen. And now, instead of doing it out of just being or the love of it, it became a duty. It became a duty to be the wise one. It became a duty to be the strong one. It became the duty to be the stabilizer for the entire family. So when things were chaotic, he's got it. And I unconsciously bought into those things, which essentially became a crutch. And the cost that I paid was now, not only did I was selective of who I let in, but receiving became a very difficult thing to be with. I was good at giving, but to let it in and to welcome just support became very challenging, because if I allowed someone to support me, then in my mind, it meant that I didn't have it together. And that was what I bought into. That was what I invested in most of my life. Like, I needed to have it together so people didn't see me a certain way.
I was recalling, too, when we were in that session, originally when I first met you, you said something that struck, that I was, for weeks and weeks and weeks, I was thinking about. And you mentioned something during the breathwork session, like I think we're in like full-on meditation at this point. You said something about you are not broken.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard that.
Wow.
For a long time. Maybe I've probably heard it before, but I just didn't hear it.
Wow.
You know? And I remember just being like, because for so many, probably months or weeks, that was the story. It was being played in my head. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. Like, why are you this way? Like, you're broken. Like, you need to just fix it. It's okay. Just like fix it. Find the problem. Fix the problem. Right? Because we're problem solvers. Entrepreneurs are like, we solve problems for our family.
That's literally the foundation of our role, is to solve problems.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you're like, oh, I'm feeling anxious for no reason.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, why am I feeling anxious about this? There's literally no reason. I've done this 10 million times.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling anxious? And there must be something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And you kind of like, you start to justify it, and, oh, my dad had this disease, my sister has this disease, oh, maybe I have like something too, maybe we're cursed, like everyone dies early, maybe I'm going to die early. So many stories that just get played and played and played. Or, worst case, you're not even sick at all, but your mind is sick. And then it's like a whole nother story. And so when you said that, it really struck with me. I'm like, wow, it made me feel so good. Yeah. And that's what made me want to go deeper with you and actually like, work together and stuff. And I'm so grateful that we did.
Man. Bro, thank you for sharing that. I had no freaking idea. Like, okay, now I want to ask you, like, when do you remember feeling, like, when was, you may not even recall the first time, but let's say you do. Like, when did you start to feel that belief be palpable in your world that caused you to always like have to fix? Like, when did you notice that narrative?
Oh, such a good question. The narrative of
like, I'm broken or something's wrong with me.
Pretty young. Yeah, it was in elementary school. Yeah, I was probably like, we've talked about a lot of this actually. 10, maybe 11 years old, when for me it was like, I was a really anxious kid. Something was always like, I just didn't, you know what, reflecting back on it, I was afraid of my own feelings. I was afraid of the anxious feelings. I wasn't afraid of anything externally happening. It was actually like I was afraid of my own mind feeling an emotion that was very natural to me. But I thought for some reason that these feelings were very unnatural. And I remember looking back, that's when I felt like I was different than the other kids in a not good way. Like, in a not good way. Like, they were all enjoying their lunchtime. Yeah. And I'm like worried about breaking down in front of all my friends. And so I think that's when I probably felt the first signs of being broken, and then just it being reinforced over time. Not intentionally. My parents tried their best.
Of course.
But I remember being labeled with like an anxiety disorder. So now it's like, oh, dude, I have a disorder. Like, I'm sick, and then just feeling like, oh, I'll never be able to get over this. And there were times where I felt not real suicidal thoughts. Like, looking back on them, I don't think they were real, but I remember being like, I don't want to live like this. This is a terrible feeling, and this scares the shit out of me. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, man. No,
never really shared that ever on the podcast.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll tell you this much. You're not even close to being alone in that. And I relate to it, but in a different way. Ever since I could remember, I carried the narrative that something was wrong with me. As I shared at 1.5 years old, being told or hearing by your mom or your parents that, who you are is too much for them. Like, oh, well, damn, let me like dim myself. Because if my mom doesn't accept me, then who am I acceptable by? So now this primal sense of belonging is triggered. And then all of a sudden, like, that's what becomes priority over everything. It's like we choose attachment over authenticity.
What do you mean by that?
So for us, at those young ages, we're more invested in survival than anything else. So what's in it for us is shelter, food, nourishment, belonging, warmth, and ultimately love. And in any moment that we essentially feel a threat to any of those things, it signals that, okay, there might be something we automatically take fault for it. We fault ourselves for whatever happens in our environment because we haven't developed the discernment yet to separate or to see, oh, that was just dad having a bad day, or that was mom, having a bad day, or that was, the dog or whatever. Like we don't have the ability to discern yet. So we internalize majority of what happens in our environment. And if we don't have anyone there to help reinforce or reassure us that we're okay, that it's safe, that it's not our fault, that there's nothing wrong with us, we will essentially calcify those beliefs or those narratives into an identity that becomes the world through which we see ourselves and through which we see externally. And for me, it's true. It was true because that's what I kept telling myself, that I was broken or something was wrong with me. And I think there's so many people, especially entrepreneurs or high capacity individuals, that is their internal dialogue. And and the thing is, the benefit of it is the reaction is to go build something epic. It's like, I don't want to deal with this feeling, so I need to go
keep myself busy and my purpose aligned with something different.
I need to go build a massive empire to not deal with these feelings. Yeah. And no matter how big the empire is, the void is still there.
That's the scary part.
The void is still there because it doesn't matter. Like you can be given heaven on a platter. It still won't compensate for the void that can only be filled internally. And that void was created by, I would say, misinterpretation and misunderstanding of like reality that nobody was there to help you correct. For me, if my mom would have, not saying she could have or she should have, I'm just looking back, right? If my mom would have had the awareness to say, hey, I don't have the energy to support you, and it has nothing to do with you. It's just my own lack of emotional capacity. And guess what? I've been like, oh, okay, we're good. Like, I just continue to be myself. But then what tends to happen is that when you practice various iterations of a belief like I'm broken or something is wrong with me, eventually over time, that's what we start to think that we are.
The neural pathways start to solidify.
The mind starts to literally solidify this consistent program, this consistent iteration of this same dialogue, right? And it starts to eventually harden into this personified expression of, I'm broken. And the thing about that is now you create a feedback loop of that. If you believe that you're broken, well then, by the nature of the survival self that was built upon, and then the next level of that, the ego, which is just the constructed self on behalf of the survival self, it has to find evidence to make that right.
100%.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started to notice all the ways that my life was matching the very belief that I was trying to run away from.
Question.
Yeah.
You figured out a way
to
have this feeling.
Yep.
This feeling that something was wrong with you.
Yep.
And you've turned it into something that somehow has served you.
Yes.
And I imagine that's probably pretty common too.
Yes.
I mean, you could take the victim mindset.
Of course.
And let it be the reason why you amount to nothing and your life is a failure and you feel like you just ruin other people's lives and all these things. Or you can take it to where it's like, okay, I'm going to go and overcompensate. And that's obviously what you've done. Yeah. Why is it that? It's like, why have you made it something where you can actually take that and turn it into a positive?
Such a good question. So, I mean, I think from my perspective, the only way we can even create a comparative analysis to both of those things is the only thing that's different is the tangible results that we have. But I still think both sides of the spectrum feel the same thing. It's just one just has the things.
Has the things, yeah.
Has a thing to try to at least compensate for the feeling. The other just doesn't, but they're still equal in part because it's still coming from the same place.
Interesting, yeah.
And what I recognized just through patterns of frustration and internal strife and just inner conflict is that it wasn't about what I was doing, it was about who I was when I was doing it, right? And what I've noticed across the board is it has really nothing to do with action. It's all about the identity that precedes the behavior that's driving the action. So one of the biggest issues that I recognized was I remember at one point wanting to be the best version of myself. Right? How many times have you heard that? I want to be the best version of myself.
I literally
right?
written down everywhere.
Still, right? I want to be the best version of myself.
100%. The
Right?
ideal version
I
of
want to make a
myself.
massive impact. I want to be the most ideal version of myself. But the question I eventually had to learn to ask is, what self? What self am I referring to? Right? The only reason I want to be the best version of myself because then internally I don't like the version of myself. If I think something is wrong with me or I'm broken, of course I want to fix that by being the best version of myself. And I realized that internal dialogue was an illusion.
It's compounding into something that you don't actually...
And being the best version of myself was just trying to be the best version of my constrained, imprisoned self, which is just literally repeating the cycle. Because it was about who was driving that.
I've never heard that before because I've only heard that my entire life. I played, high school sport, youth sports, high school sports, college sports, literally competed my entire life. And the idea is that you should always be the best version of yourself. Now running businesses, you need to be like continuing to elevate yourself. I've never heard somebody question that frame of thinking. What is the best way what is a better way to say that?
Or what's the self in essentially. So it's not about not doing that. Like I'm also not dismissing our
Yeah, because obviously you believe in self-improvement.
Yes,
I mean, I know you do. Yeah.
I think it's all about the come from. So my work has now evolved into helping people realize, well, what self is driving the show, right? If I were to think of little Samson, he was curious. He was awe-inspired. He was full of life. He was excited. He loved depth. But over time, I suppressed that because it wasn't welcomed. And over time, I started to live from the compensation so I can survive the circumstances that I felt were threatening my safety. So I started to live from the survival self, the constrained self, the limited self, the imprisoned self, rather than the original authority in Samson, which was full of wonder, awe, was excited, was interested. And the difference becomes now, what can I create from that versus the constraint? A lot of times we're creating from the constraint and wonder why we don't feel resonance or fulfillment.
What's an example of that in business, let's just say?
Okay. This is the perfect example of the guy who did everything right, worked his ass off, build the empire. Look at his account, the zeros are there. Look at his family. There may be some stuff there, but he has the family. He has everything you can consider on paper that
Success.
But then he can't sleep at night. He feels irritable. He feels uneasy. It's like he still has that angst. It's still not enough. And this is not the case for everyone. At that point, what we can begin to explore is maybe the success that you're not connected to or you don't feel connected to has come from the part of you that's created the success to try to fill the void that you feel. Now it's about how can I create from who I am, not who I think I am. The disconnect exists because there's a gap between the who and the what.
Can that man have both?
Yes, I believe so.
I think there's this narrative, at least in my head, growing up, is you have to be, if you want to be super successful and have that empire, have all the things, then you have to make sacrifices. And one of those sacrifices is your probably mental well-being.
Yeah. I think that's a fallacy.
I think it's a fallacy. Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest fallacies, and I think it's a fallacy that serves the machine that we're all a part of. I think it's a fallacy that serves the system.
So you can say you could have the cake and you could also eat it too. You could be happy and you can have the empire. You're saying.
So again, there's spectrums of that, right? My thing is, I don't feel. In what world does, and this is just a question for you, in what world do we think? In what sane world do we think that we can sustain sacrificing our well-being just to achieve something and then eventually get to the thing and not be able to be present with it because we sacrificed ourselves getting there?
What a terrible feeling. Yeah, what a terrible thing.
But yet again, we don't sit and actually like meditate and like think about this because it's all about that thing. Now, it's not wrong. It's not wrong going after that thing. I think it's all about what, not even why, like how we're doing it. Right? I think there's a bunch of science now because now we're in a society that needs peer-reviewed research before we do anything, right? There's now science coming out confirming that rest is one of the most productive things you can do. But we lived through an era where rest was frowned upon because we watched our parents not do that. We watch our parents have to deal with giving most of their life to a company or to something and eventually retire in a way that you don't even see them enjoy it. Like now they're suffering on the back end of choices that they made in the first half of their life. Like my father just passed, and I remember watching him stress. I think stress is what broke his health down. So
I want to talk about that for a minute. If you don't
yeah,
mind.
absolutely.
When did he pass?
He passed July 22nd.
I know we talked about that a little before we hit
Yeah.
record. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That's so heavy. And you said it was unexpected as well.
Yeah.
You mind sharing how he passed? And
Yeah. Without obviously going into too much detail, he's dealt with health issues, health challenges over the years. And I remember since I was a kid, and this is my stepfather, but, just for me, he's been in my life since I was 5, so he's a father,
Yeah.
especially in my culture. We don't have those lines. So I remember as a little kid, like watching him deal with like migraines, and he would go to the hospital and be like, oh, there's nothing here. He'll get scans, x-ray, nothing. And then it'll keep happening. We realized like it was stress related, and then he eventually got diagnosed with hypertension, which is high blood pressure, stress related. And, I just look at all that, and from a man's perspective that had to essentially support the family and do what he did, I just think he didn't have an outlet. He didn't have the resources that now I'm not only creating, but I'm making available for people, or I have available to me, to reflect back to him that it's okay. Like, you're not crazy. Like, I know how difficult it is. I'll even share a story with you 2 years ago. This is why when he passed, even though like I'm moving through my own grieving process, which is ongoing, there was this sense of completion that I felt, right? Which I remember questioning like maybe weeks after. I'm like, should I be grieving differently? I feel like kind of weird not grieving how the rest of my family was grieving.
or the movies, The movies
Like-
just kind of say that you're supposed
Right. And I'm like, no, it's because I allow myself to feel in the moment. Like I remember we were taking a trip as a family to Dallas to meet my cousin. And like for 30 minutes of that car, I was just like bawling my eyes out because it was just there. It was just raw. But 2 years ago, I remember having a conversation with him. And I'm going to kind of share some context. They got to a point where in my early 20s, starting 18 and then really to my early 20s, I became very like obsessive over my health. I used to work in the medical field as an ER tech, so I got exposure to the realities of what it's like to not take care of yourself. I fortunately and unfortunately, I say fortunately because of how much death has been a teacher for me, but unfortunately because I had to witness it, I've witnessed many people die. So like for me, it gave me the edge, it gave me the inspiration to like take care of myself in a new way. But I would also admit that a lot of it, because I was so young and still developing in maturity when it came to a lot of things and my understanding of the world, I can see where my ego led a lot of it. And I'm sharing this because, my pops, he didn't really take care of himself in the way that he could. And I would always like frown upon it and look down on it. So he had a mild stroke like years back. This is when I still used to live in Philly and I was around him. And we got ahead of that. And we were able to take care of him, helped him lose a bunch of weight, got his health back in order, and then eventually just snuck back. And I think I have my reasons why, which there was a lot of like, again, stress. But I share that because when I had this conversation with him 2 years ago, a different part of me showed up. At this point now, married with kids. So my perspective of life is different. I'm more grounded in reality, if you will. I've already had multiple initiations with life. I've already crossed over certain thresholds, right, that would welcome me into the understanding or visceral reality of like what a man is and responsibility. So like my come from was a lot different compared to the early 20-year-old boy and literally a boy just in a grown man's body. Because this is at the beginning of when I started like to really do my own personal work. So I was still a boy in an adult body. My perspective was different. So I was on this call and we were just chatting. And I was just asking him about how he was doing. And I can also feel almost the resistance to kind of telling me about his health because he knew it would come with like some sort of judgment or like correction. So
you're a fixer. You'll probably give us a bunch of suggestions of,
Yep.
all right, all you got to do is this. Maybe
exactly.
send a couple articles
Exactly.
after, a couple YouTube videos after.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, what do I got to do? What packages do I got to put together for my pops to get his health?
Been there, done it,
Yep. So in the back of my mind, something was telling me, shut up. Just listen. And I was listening to what he was telling me, and we were talking. And then something in me just told me to recognize him. I said, Pops, I want to let you know something. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I know most people may not recognize what you've been holding, and it's bringing up emotion right now. I know sometimes it feels like what you do isn't enough. And I also don't know what man could handle what you've handled. Because I think I told you my mom was deported in 2005, and literally like as he was passing, I had to like FaceTime my mom in. So there's all of that. And I just shared that with him. And there was this moment of silence. Like it was silent. And then literally you hear a grown man start to weep. He just started to weep. Like when I say cry, I'm talking about like, the ugly cry. Like this was a soul cry. And I realized in that moment, holy shit, how much he's been holding. Heavy. And I would just like, for me, when I look back on his passing, that's the completion I felt in my heart. I felt so fortunate and blessed enough to be there for him in that way.
You got to be there. That was you. You got to do that.
Yeah. And it didn't take me fixing anything. It didn't take me solving anything. It didn't take me trying to figure anything out. And that has been one of my biggest lessons up to date, despite the however many years of whatever I've done or created, is learning to take a step back from having to solve or fix anything, especially if it's out of my control.
Almost like a let go type of moment.
Literally, and it's tied to that helpless feeling. It's like the things that I think every entrepreneur, every high capacity man, every man, just because I think it's also inherently how we're wired and designed to give and support in the way that we do, we have it in us to want to solve and stabilize and figure things out, which I don't think is wrong at all. But sometimes I think it crosses the line into things that are out of our control, and that almost irritates our identity or our utility or function. For me, I'm learning right now how it's kind of like the serenity prayer. It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can. Here's the biggest thing, the wisdom to know the difference. And when I'm led or driven by a survival self that was an adaptation to a moment that was overwhelming for me to handle, I've now defaulted into this idea of myself that is subject to living in a way that blurs the line of the wisdom to know the difference and thinking that I can control all of it. And no wonder why you ask a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel lonely. They feel overwhelmed. They feel burdened. They feel heavy. I think a lot of that has to do with it because there's only so much we can take things with our will before having to get to a place where we have to surrender that to the will that's bigger than us.
Surrender.
Yeah.
That word has come up more frequently from my life in the past 1 month, probably.
You and I.
Is that right? Man.
Yeah, bro.
I never even thought about that word surrender. It was my identity to push back on surrender, like never surrender kind of mentality, right? Like never give up, never give in, never surrender. And I was talking with another like kind of a mind coach friend, and I was kind of I was expressing to her some of my, I don't know what it was. It was like I was fighting these feelings. Like I hate these feelings that I have, like I'm frustrated maybe, or maybe it's the business, or maybe it's myself, or mostly frustrated myself typically. It's not usually with external factors. It's usually myself. Like, why am I feeling this certain way? And I usually get upset with myself. And because I have a higher standard for myself. And what it comes down to be, and you have helped me realize this, and also she kind of brought it up too. And I've 3 different people, kind of like different angles I could think about them, including my wife actually. So 4 of perfectionism. I was mixing high standards with being perfect.
I was literally going to ask you where did those standards come from exactly?
And she asked me this. She was like on this call. She was like, you're spiritual, right, Cody? And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, you're a Christian, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a Christian. She's like, yeah. I think you need to surrender. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And she says, surrender to the feelings. Stop trying to fight them. They're your feelings. Just let them be. And since that day, I've taken a way more intentional approach to when I feel a feeling, instead of trying to fix it or judge it or, where's that feeling coming? Trying to analyze it and try to dissect it and try to make sure it doesn't go any deeper. I simply just say, nothing. I don't have to do anything, actually. And I'm not going to say this like cures me, because there's not a cure to be had. But man, the feelings just is so relieving.
It resolves the thing.
It resolves the thing.
Majority of the narratives that we carry, and this may sound like a generalization, because I do also want to acknowledge and honor the nuance and complexities, but the meta perspective I want to give to this is the majority of narratives that we carry that are limiting are tied to emotions and feelings that we haven't felt. And I think it's because, again, there is this standard or idea of what a man is, what a woman is, what an entrepreneur is, whatever title and label that we put out there socially to fit in. And I think that's one of the biggest issues is this over-identification and attachment to this idea of what something is rather than what it is to you in that moment. So let's say you're experiencing anxiety, right? Because that's what it is. It's an experience. You don't have it, you're experiencing it.
That's right.
And you are attached to this label, this perfect idea of what a man is. High standards, entrepreneur, he's strong, he's tough.
It's the ideal self, yeah. It's like you're super Samson.
Right.
I mean, you're super Cody. And
Exactly.
for someone listening to this, it's super their name. It's like the ideal pinnacle version of themselves. And to me, I picture this person thinking a certain way,
Yes.
acting a certain way, saying things a certain way, never letting certain thoughts come into my mind.
Yes. Which is a form of
Perfectionism.
and control.
Oh, yeah. Totally control.
It's a high form of control. So now you have this idea, but how I see it is any idea that you're overly attached to or you're over-identify with is a prison. It's a box. I have to live up to these rules or else I'm blank.
Yeah, or I'm failing.
So now,
Broken.
you see what I'm saying? So now you can see why the idea or belief that you're broken is causes a reaction to live up to a certain standard that's not really you, when in fact it's just an opposition to what you don't want to feel. I don't want to feel broken, so I have to be this perfect human being. So anytime the experience of anxiety would come in, oh, that's associated to being broken. I'm going to avoid that at all costs.
And when you resist, what you resist persists. It comes back wrong.
And you end up fulfilling the prophecy because all it is like a guest in the house. It's just a guest that wants to be invited in, that has wisdom and information for you to let you know about how your life is what's happening in your life in this moment. Another way to explain it. When we pathologize or we other an aspect of us that's a natural human reaction to an abnormal environment or situation, what tends to happen is we automatically cause a war between who we are. Why? Well, anxiety is an experience that happens to try to protect ourselves now from a projection of something we think is going to happen then. So it's future-based. Anxiety can be experienced in many different ways with people, but majority of the time it's a higher increased heart rate or shallow breathing or tightness in the chest or the upper area, tingles, sweaty hands. It could
Those are the physical
it
sensations.
can manifest physically differently for people, but the reaction is to a system. It's a reaction from a system that does not feel safe. So I'm anticipating danger. So anxiety is a signal in your body to help protect you now from what you think is going to happen then. Now, a question to you, like, do we know what's going to happen then exactly?
No.
No. So how could you be afraid of what's going to happen then if you don't know what's going to happen? Right. You can't, because we don't have no data or information. So is it safe to say that the experience of anxiety in the moment is tied to something that you probably don't want to experience again?
Of course it is, yeah.
Right. So now what if anxiety is actually a way to inform you about, on one hand, hey, I don't feel safe in this moment, which is fine. But on the other hand, it could be an invitation to help you see
Prepare.
what you're still, yes, it's helping you prepare.
Sure.
And
It's a
in
good
a lot
thing.
of cases,
It's actually trying to protect you, yeah.
exactly.
Where a majority of people, I think, that experience anxiety,
Yep.
typically it is, and I can relate to this,
It's a problem.
they see it as a problem.
The problem.
But in fact, it's actually
It's
the
a
thing
natural
trying-
human reaction.
It's a natural human emotion, just like fear and happiness and sadness and and anxiousness. It's an emotion.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but we think of it as a broken thing that's in my way. Because I could experience like
yes, we're still living from disconnection, and we also have a society that validates that. Again, just to say on record, I'm not a doctor. I'm also not dismissing people's experiences when it comes to, let's say, a certain diagnosis, but we've gotten to a place where we're diagnosing something that's a natural reaction, which solidifies it as a problem.
Absolutely.
So if I believe that I have this disorder, right, that perpetuates the belief that I'm broken.
Yep.
But if we're willing to stop and pause for a little bit, safely explore what the anxiety is and how it's manifesting in us, follow the breadcrumbs of how it's showing up in our experience. I'm not going to say almost or always. Most of the time, we'll be led to something that we're still carrying from our past. And it may not be just our past. It could also be generationally, right? So anxiety becomes now a natural reaction to protect us in the moment from something that we're anticipating is going to happen in the future. Same thing goes for other emotions. They're information. That's what they are. They're information about our personal experience. And if we live in a reality that dismisses the emotions as a problem simply to maintain an idea of who we think we are, then we're essentially perpetuating the very idea that we're trying to run away from by avoiding ourselves. And it's just this cycle that just keeps happening over and over and over again until somebody comes in or we stop or unfortunately go through a crisis or a big accident or some sort of devastating event that has to force our attention before we redirect that. So when you hear surrender, even within the Christian faith is like, and this is just my experience of it, like emotions are sometimes demonized.
What do you mean?
Let's say you're having depression or anxiety, right? Sometimes it's demonized as an external force that's working against you when it's just you having that feeling to something that's happening in your environment.
You're saying that it maybe happens in the religious aspect?
Yes.
Like, for example, give me an example of that.
So there is another, it's like there's so many layers to it, right? So let's say you're having anxiety or depression, for instance.
Okay.
And it's really challenging, it's tough, right? And there are many reasons one could be in I think of like depression. What I know about depression today is not what I knew back then. Depression today, on some level, is the result of being cut off from feeling, right? To depress, push down, press down, right? When you press down something, when you suppress, repress, depress, you're pushing it down. You don't want yourself to experience the reality of it. So depression on some level is being cut off from feeling. And when I look at that now, I'm like, oh, this person is depressed physically and emotionally because they don't want to feel. Spiritually, depression, not all times, is also a state where you're asked to transition, right? It's a spiritual transition that I've witnessed that is asking for metaphorical death. So us as a soul has hit a limit with this version of ourselves. And we can no longer live as this version of ourselves. So we hit a wall and the soul's like, hey, it's like trying to imagine being a size 15, trying to still fit a size 6 shoe. You feel very uncomfortable. Like, and there's been a lot of thoughts and a lot of actually correlations to even suicidal ideation, right? Outside of the maybe the pathology that has to do with that and many other factors, on a very deep spiritual level, suicidal ideation has to do with soul expansion. Like Our soul feels too tight and constrained in this body or this version of ourselves that it wants to evolve into the next, but we're not letting it because we're so attached to who we've been and we don't know how to cross it. There are many traditions and cultures that have spoke to this, and they've had rituals, they've had rites of passages in place to help someone move across. So I'm saying all this to speak to depression or these emotions not as something bad, but as an indication that is unique and subjective to each individual's journey as a way to pay attention to something deeper that's asking for your attention.
Interesting.
So when you have an external system, let's say like religions, not everyone that says, oh, let's say your depression, no, that's the enemy. No, what if it's not the enemy?
That's interesting that you say that because for me, using kind of keeping it on the anxiety thing for a second, I can look at mine too. Like I could think about these emotions that I've had since I was a little kid, and I can point to so many decisions that I made because I was experiencing this thing that have benefited me, my family, people around me, friends, simply because I was listening to that. Now, there's times where it hindered me, of course, because I let it hinder me. I mean, I wasn't in touch with myself in that way. But I certainly use it as a lever in many, many ways. And I still am, actually. I'm using it as a lever right now, actually, to like go deeper and to understand what's happening and to question what is truth.
It's that. What you just said, I think, is one of the biggest keys that we have is we don't question enough. And question has different layers. The questioning I'm talking about is not from the fixer or the figure-outer. Question from curiosity. So there's this playful energy. Instead of investigating to get to an answer, I'm allowing myself to rest in the question. So the temporary or at least present, I don't even want to call it an answer because it almost assumes finality. So maybe the present expression of how, let's call it an answer, right? The present answer that I know is eventually going to change shows up, but you're being pulled by the question, right? And questions create continuation.
It's actually trying to make me evolve. It's trying to let my soul expand, actually. Because I think it's partially the universe, and I think it's God in a lot of ways.
I believe that.
Okay, yeah,
I believe that.
And I believe that like God knows exactly who I want to be. Like I've been very clear with who I want to be, and maybe I called it my ideal self, whatever it is. Like He knows, because my actions are backing it up, and my intentions are there. And what, in my perspective, He's saying is like, okay, cool. That's a pretty tough man. You know, it's a man that can handle a lot of emotions, a lot of things, external, internal. Cool. All right, I'll put you through the fire. To make sure that you become that. And so naturally, like
absolutely,
all of a sudden, I have to deal with these things in my own heart, my own mind, of like, I don't know how to handle that, and I need to figure out what's happening right there. And on the other side of that, just like on the other side of all challenges, you typically become better.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's happening for me personally.
No, I agree.
And probably with you too.
I agree.
With like, your father and like all this stuff happening right now.
It was
sharpening you.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I realized. Like everything has a purpose. But when we are disconnected from who we are, we're disconnected from the purpose of essentially what we were created for, how we were created. I always say, like, the physical body that houses the spirit and the soul is the vehicle through which we're meant to create through. I see it as like we're the receiver, God, which is in everything and everywhere, is the transmitter. And if I'm demonizing my experience of anxiety or joy or depression or whatever emotion is happening, like it's not an idea. That's the thing about emotions. They're real. They're present. Like I feel them in my body. If I'm demonizing any aspect of that or othering it or blaming it on something else, I am now removing myself from the very vessel that's bringing me, that's connecting me here. So one of the most powerful things we can do is create connection with this body. Not be attached to it, but create connection with it.
Practically, how does somebody do that? Let's say if they're listening to this and just like, okay, cool, I'm experiencing all that.
Yeah. I mean, we've done it in our work. And the first things first is like, do I have the capacity to be curious? Right? Do I have the capacity to be curious about my thoughts? Like, not try to stop them, not try to...
What does that mean? Like, so if I have a thought and let's say it's a negative thought.
Okay.
What is practically, what are they doing?
That's such a good question, you know. That's a great question to start with, because under what form of measure can I judge that as negative? So it's even starting there. It's like, why am I judging this thought as a negative thought instead of just a thought? So like, imagine yourself like literally like just, the best way I could explain is there's a projector. Like imagine watching a TV or a monitor, and the pictures on the monitor are your thoughts. What if you just stand and just watch them without acting or reacting? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, which could be a bit more challenging, which could take some more practice, which can take patience. Because I've witnessed many people are cut off from their body. Like, we're a society that overthinks and underfeels for many reasons, right? We weren't taught how to. It's not in our curriculum. In most households, you're not even, like, feeling is shunned.
What do they, sorry,
Yes.
so it's an interesting thing you're saying. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get to, what do you think they're missing out on?
With what?
Because they are shut off to all of those things. And they're not connected. What are they missing out on? What are the good things that they're missing out on?
Presence. If there is anything you're missing out on, there's a lot more, but presence. If my mind is always in the future or the past, I can't be here. And if I can't be here, then I can't. If I'm not here, that means I'm not with you, Cody. If I'm not with you, then I can't love on you. I can't receive from you. I can't interact with you. If I'm not here, I'm not actually choosing. Something else is choosing for me. So now the so-called business I'm building is not from me here. It's from the part of me that does not want to be here.
So interesting.
Right? So like there's the connection with life that you feel. There's the pulse that you feel. Like I feel like
the vibration is the energy.
I'm in touch with life. Another benefit, right? Ask me the question again.
When they are not connected with themselves and their emotions and these feelings, what are they missing out on?
They're missing out on, and this is, I'm gonna full send it on this. In my opinion, you're missing out on,
say it,
God. And when I say God, not the religious dogmatic God that we've been told.
Talking about source.
Yes.
I'm talking about the creator.
The one that can't be boxed in, the one that has no name. Right? The one that's present right now in this conversation that I feel chills like right now in this moment. It's in everything and it permeates everything. Everything. And here's the reason we miss out on that. Because God is nowhere else but here. This is the only thing that exists, is here, now, this moment. There is no future. There is no future. There's literally no future. The past, as we know, it's done. It's only here. So if I'm existing everywhere but here, I am missing out on God that always is happening now. I mean, we can go into many layers of that. If I'm not present with my emotions, then let's say as a parent, when my child emotes, now who they are authentically is a threat to me because I don't know how to hold for that because I don't know what it feels like in me. One of the biggest benefits as a father that has supported me in raising me and my wife in raising our daughters was us being able to feel our emotions, the big and the small ones, the heavy and the light ones, all of them, So when babies, and you have 3 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a younger one right now that probably has tantrums and it cries,
All night, 9 months.
right? If I don't know what anger feels like in my body, then now my child's anger is a threat because I don't know how to be with it. I'm going to try to attempt to fix the anger because I'm uncomfortable with my own so I can be with that. Now, when my child is having a tantrum or they're very uncomfortable or they're having big feelings, there's no part of me that wants to fix them. All I'm doing now is just being present. Why? Because I understand it as a natural human experience. Children that they can't communicate yet, babies that can't communicate yet, they can't convey words to let you know what's happening. There are myriad of things that are happening. And if I'm frustrated and trying to figure that out and I'm annoyed by how they're feeling, then I'm invisibly communicating to them that who they are is an issue, it's a problem. Babies feel it all, right? More than anything, more than words, our children watch, but they also feel our energy. So it's, what are we missing out on? You're also missing out on like really deepening your relationship with your children. I don't know if you heard it, but I heard it growing up. Don't cry, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Now, what did that teach me as a man? It teach me that, well, boys, crying isn't safe. Crying is a human experience, right? It's not like this fixed thing, or it's not like an upgrade. It's part of the human experience. And crying is just a way to physically release emotion that's present. It could be connected to sadness or anger or joy. It's not limited. It's just tears. But I'll give you something to cry about, right? So what did I learn? Oh, it's not safe to emote. It's not safe to cry, right?
It made me think about something.
Yeah.
When I was telling you that perfection story, that day I had this like epiphany after that. And it occurred to me that if I feel like I need to be perfect and I need to like do the right thing think the right thought, even not even do the right thing, like think the right thought, what are my kids going to expect from themselves? And the last thing I want for my child is this pressure of feeling perfect. The last thing I want them to feel. So immediately what I did after that is after the workday, I went and just sat with both of my older kids, a 6-year-old and 4-year-old, and like whispered in their ear separately. And I'm just like, Daddy's not perfect. And they have no idea what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, what? Yeah, you are. It's like so cool.
You're the superhero, bro,
yeah.
So you can't take that away from them.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to tell them that. And it was more selfishly for me.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't need to be perfect for these kids. In fact, I don't want to be, I need to be able to show we're human. And I don't know, I felt like that what you were mentioning right there is I had to just kind of say that because it's such an important thing that we're leading for our children.
Well, we were once children that were being led.
Yeah.
And our parents, same thing. So I think the biggest thing from this is like, what are we unconsciously passing down? A lot of times we think we're passing down values or wealth or whatever. No, we're also passing down the things that are unsaid, that are uncommunicated verbally or physically based off of what they're gathering from our our body language, what we're putting out there. Kids read every week. Again,
it's the vibrations, it's the energy, it's coming in all the time.
I don't like this rhetoric or thought that kids don't know. Kids are brilliant. They have to be brilliant for their survival. They have to pick up on every nuance, on everything. And they're learning whether we know it or not. So when we are uncomfortable or deny any aspect of ourselves, we're teaching them the same exact thing.
Yep.
And I think this journey becomes one of self-acceptance. That's what it's been for me. It's like if I could accept myself, then I'm accepting how I was created. Who am I to deny any aspect of me if I believe in a creator that created things that are good? I mean, that'd be egotistical. Think about that. For me to think that something is wrong with me is egotistical. When I know I come from a creator that created everything and it was good.
Mm.
So you can see the fallacy.
Yeah, very interesting.
And I think it comes down to us forgetting our inherent goodness. When you forget that, then you try to live a life trying to prove that you're good instead of just, oh, I'm good.
Sure. Yeah. It's not actually that challenging. I remember that, and I want to get to the rapid fire questions after this too. When I started surrendering,
Yes.
just these feelings, and I'm mentioning this so much because it's recent,
Yes.
and it was actually a very big breakthrough for me. I remember just like after a workout, I was doing like the meditation, this mindfulness. I was just kind of like sitting there listening to something, and I just started like to tear up. And I just started thanking God. And I'm just like, God, like I was trying to over-engineer this answer. I was trying to like do this many workouts per week, do this many mindful meditations per week.
Control.
Yeah, go on walks.
Right.
I was nervous because I didn't work out before. I felt this way because I didn't do this external thing.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was just let it be.
Yeah.
And it dissipated.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I felt I felt gratitude.
That's the recipe for peace, by the way.
I felt peace. It's interesting. Tell me more about the peace.
When you ask about what benefit, right? Or was that your question? And you were speaking, I was like, oh, it's peace. And not peace connected to the absence of chaos. No, peace with what is. If I'm busy trying to deny something that's happening in me, I'm never going to be at peace. If I'm trying to fix this experience of anxiety because I feel I shouldn't be having, I'm never going to be at peace. If I try to shun the depression or keep it together and I don't allow myself to be happy because my family's still going through things, I'm not going to be at peace. Like the absence of peace is the denial of what is. And again, it's like how many of us are actually in search for peace? We're trying to build the thing, then I'm going to experience
That's the whole
peace.
point of what we're trying to do.
When peace is here.
Yeah, interesting.
Peace has always been here, but it's going to come from us choosing to surrender to what is.
It's interesting. That's it right there. And it's so interesting because we overcomplicate, including myself, overcomplicate this.
Yes.
Peace is already here.
Peace is already here.
Let it in.
Peace is literally already here. And the challenge for a lot of people is like, when you realize you don't have to do anything to feel
That was crazy. Yes, that was it.
Your mind's trying to make sense of it. It's like, wait, I didn't just work my ass off. I didn't have to work 1,000 hours. I didn't have to do all this to achieve peace. Like, no, this can't be real. Then you're going to, then you try to like, make it make sense. So you try to create a recipe to repeat it again and make it more predictable. No, it's here.
That's such a crazy thing. It's so simple. That's why. And this kind of supports the idea that you can build your empire.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and you're like, how do I have peace while I also like grow myself and expand myself?
Yes.
You can do both at the same time.
Yes. It's because I can sometimes sense the fear, and I've heard it before. It's like, if I begin this work, am I going to lose the edge? My edge.
I was worried about that too.
And I always ask,
am I going to get soft, or am I going to like get too easy on myself?
Right. And I always ask, where's that voice coming from? The idea of the edge that you have, who is actually driving it? And 9 times out of 10, it's fear-based. The edge is fear-based. The edge is reactive rather than from truth. So I tell people, you're not going to lose your edge. You're going to gain your truth, and that will always surpass an edge. Because in the moment when you're choosing from what's true, your head, heart, gut, and every part of you are in alignment with that choice, as opposed to you choosing from something you don't want to have. It's like I'm playing not to lose instead of just playing.
Good temporary strategy, but eventually.
Eventually, the chicken comes to roost. It's like, okay, you got to pay the price for this.
Yeah, and you pay the price in weird ways. It's not like the clear, like, go out of business way.
Exactly.
It's like internal war.
Which is it hurts a lot more than anything else.
It does, yeah.
And it's because it's the absence of peace. So when I could be connected to what is, this is not saying that life is going to be perfect, is let's say, yeah, today is a shitty day. Okay, great. You notice that the shitty day does not last, or the effects of it are not as heavy when I don't resist it. If I allow myself to just be with how shitty it is, you notice that, oh, it's not as bad because I'm not fighting. Most of the suffering comes from fighting reality. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to oppose the truth.
Interesting.
I'm trying to force my will on what's true. So if I could just keep practicing, like surrendering, and so, again, surrendering sometimes, again, it could assume that there's weakness or I'm soft. No, surrendering is letting go. Again, it's the wisdom of knowing the difference of what you can control and what you can't. And the reality is, and I'm going to just drop a bomb here, we can't really control shit. Not long ago when I asked you, do we have any information in the future, what'd you say?
I mean, no. Yeah.
I mean, this building could collapse right now, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
It can. Literally, this building could collapse. Something can fire through the wall, like my chair can, anything could happen. But if I'm okay with that, I notice I don't have to carry as much weight. It's like, this is the true idea, in my opinion. This is the true testament of like giving it to God. Right? There's a lot of people think they're giving it to God, but no, it's masked as control. I'm saying it's lip service, but my ego is still holding on. I'm still edging God out in whatever way, shape, or form. You know, this is the I don't know.
You ready for the rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
What's your favorite business book, or really any book that's really made an impact in your life?
Ask that question again.
What's your favorite business book?
Oh, business book. Oh, this is good. Ooh.
I know we didn't talk a lot about business today.
Yeah.
But man, you're a businessman yourself, and you're an entrepreneur yourself. So I know that you have something.
I'm trying to pick one that's like universal.
Or impactful book. Doesn't have to be business.
Yeah. The Greatest Salesman by Ogmandino.
I haven't read that yet.
It's a very short read, but it's, yeah.
What's the one thing that you wish that you knew before starting your business?
That it's okay to honor my rhythm and be patient with the process.
Are you religious?
Yes, but not in the fundamental way. When I say religious, I love the routine of certain practices and rituals to like keep me honorable, but I'm more spiritual than anything.
What's the difference between spiritual and religious?
Yeah.
I tend to answer that question similarly.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm a Christian categorically.
Yeah.
But I still don't really, I say that.
Yeah.
Spiritual. Yeah, go ahead.
So religion, to my understanding, obviously you can get into the etymology of it, but I'm just going to give my understanding of religion is you take a spiritual system and it's limited to some form of like institution that has practices, has rituals, has a set of rules and guidelines that you need to follow in order to blank. Spirituality, on the other hand, is the relationship with the unseen forces, right? So it's the creator, and it's essentially living in a way that you're able to merge the unseen and the seen. That's what spiritual is, pretty much. So it's similar, but what I feel with dogmatic religion and where it's kind of taken a step aside is we've removed the mysticism from it. Like every spiritual tradition, first they have a mystical side to it. It's this like the unknown is the thing you can't touch that keeps it innocent, but it also, there's no finality to it. It's not boxed in. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Last question. Who do you think should be a business owner?
Ask it in a different way.
What type of person should be an entrepreneur? Is everyone cut out to be an entrepreneur? Or is it only for like the blessed by the entrepreneur God?
No, I don't think everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur in the traditional sense, but I do believe that everyone's cut out to share their gift. It may not be in the entrepreneurial way.
How do you know if you should be you should be a business owner? How do you know?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people right now that are driving in the car right now, listening to this, or they're on their lunch break, and they're working a job that's they don't necessarily hate, they don't love.
Yeah.
And they're questioning, do I have what it takes?
Yep.
Or am I like Samson? Am I like Cody? Am I like these other people that are business owners? I don't know if I am, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say entrepreneurship takes a different level of commitment to be self-sufficient and sovereign, that you can maintain long-term devotion to something that you're not going to yield an instantaneous result, which can be uncomfortable. So if you can tolerate that, you could be an entrepreneur. But you also have to be willing to deal with the storms and the waves and the nights where nothing shows up, and the nights where you look at your bank account and there's nothing there. And then so you got to deal with the spectrum of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. But to answer your question, I'll share.
I love that answer. That was a really great answer.
Yeah. If something is gnawing on your spirit, if you know that you literally are uncomfortable, like at a job, and this is not to say like leave your job instantaneously, but you know you were created for more, you know you have something to give, and the voice of doubt is higher than your comfort at the job of starting something else, you're meant to be an entrepreneur.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that. And last thing I'll say to that is, piggyback on that is, you don't need to know how to do any of that stuff.
Yes.
You just have to know that you're willing to do it.
Yes.
Or you're willing to figure it out.
Yeah. I had no idea.
No one does.
I had no idea.
One does. And it's okay to be questioning yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But the idea, the mindset that you need to be in is, I'll just do whatever is required. The goal is too big, or it's too important for me to do this. Samson, brother, thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, it's been exceptional, man.
Where can people find you and learn more from you and all that? Connect with you.
Just currently on Instagram right now, Samson_strength, and we're working on some things in the background to kind of widening my reach as well. But right now, just on Instagram.
Follow Samson on Instagram. Incredible human being, as you guys all know. Samson, thank you for spending an hour and a half with me, brother.
That was perfect. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.